Okay, guys, this is it. The bid is done. The meme of me bringing up Path of Exile every conversation is over. It's not gonna happen anymore. We're done with it. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. I'm done trying to convince you guys through annoying means to play this game. So here's the deal. I'll stop that, and in exchange, you gotta watch this video, and you have to take some genuine thought into it. Maybe something will resonate in your mind, and you'll be like, "Huh, well, that's a good point. Maybe I should try it out." That's all I'm gonna try to accomplish here. So strap in, grab your popcorn, grab your glasses, get your notebook out, get ready to take some notes, because this is my one last attempt at why you should play Path of Exile. I feel like video games these days are constantly giving you the wrong first impression. You've got Overwatch, which portrays itself as a first-person shooter, when it's actually just a MOBA that's played in the first person with guns. Similarly, Dead by Daylight portrays itself as this horror game where you're getting chased around by a killer and it's scary. Nope, not at all. It's just a giant mind game playground where you're trying to outsmart the other person, faking them out. It's pretty cool. Similarly, Death Stranding portrays itself as an interesting and important game. And so with all of these games giving you a completely wrong impression of what they actually are, it makes sense that you would look at Path of Exile and the first things it throws at you is this freaking monster of a skill tree. You've got skill gems that are certain colors that align to certain armor types that align to those more likely to having that color. And then those colors have to be linked together potentially to make the build you want. It's a lot. But it's actually not. You go through the skill tree and you're like, oh shit, what should I pick? What shouldn't I pick? I feel like multiplayer RPGs are largely to blame for this kind of mindset. I remember playing World of Warcraft trying to make an ideal druid, and you're just looking at the talent tree, and there's all these choices, these options you can choose from, but more often than not, they're not options. It's just the illusion of choice, because if you actually want to succeed in the game, there's not choices, there are right and wrong answers. Path of Exile is anything but right or wrong answers. Sure, there's meta builds, but I think the largest detriment to the game is the idea that it was propagated by other games where you have to make the right or wrong decision in building your character to have a good character. That's not the case in Path of Exile at all. It's more of just like a jungle gym of options that you can kind of craft your character around. Those of you that might be kind of steering away from Path of Exile because of the time sink and the kind of mental investment should definitely not worry about that. You can make almost anything in this game and have it be pretty effective through probably any kind of content that you'll ever get through. You do not have to know anything. Path of Exile is not an exact science. If you want to try to min-max for that absolute late game stuff, then you can. But you don't have to actually worry about that. You only have to worry about building your character and knowing enough to get to the point that you are currently at. You can get through the main storyline of Path of Exile, which can take anywhere from 40 hours to the more refined like 6 or 7 hours, and learn very little about the deeper complexities of the actual systems. With just base knowledge on how to make a character in Path of Exile, you can get extremely far. And do extremely well at that. The things that you do have to learn, the game kind of teaches you on its own. You have to kill the big beasts with the beast guy? Hey, maybe there's certain NPCs of interest that you want to go kill for certain rewards. Huh, how about that? Oh, this mechanic wants me to kill a lot of things very quickly or in a short amount of time or travel through the map very quickly. Hey, maybe that's the strat for getting through the game faster and getting the maximum amount of potential from your time invested in it. The mechanics that are introduced to you are the things that teach you about the game. You never have to go out of your way to learn more about Path of Exile unless you actually want to. The deeper complexities of the system are only there if you want to use them. Which brings me to kind of the next subtopic here, which is that most of you guys are pretty into RPG systems. or at least have a demonstrated interest in them, whether it's D&D or these RPG forums and these various tabletops type systems. I genuinely cannot understand how you can have an interest in these kind of systems and this kind of character creation and not at least give Path of Exile a solid try. I think that is irresponsible as a gamer to just not do. To be fair, there's a lot of games out there that are like, you can create anything you want, you can be anything you want to be, and it's usually just one of 3 choices, which is sword guy, bow guy, magic girl. And the market's just saturated with this kind of advertising, but rarely do games actually live up to that kind of thing. Path of Exile ones up this in actually feeling like you're playing different characters in this. It's not just a reskin of the same buttons you're pressing. Gameplay styles, animation timers, cooldowns, of which there's remarkably little, by the way. There's face tanky characters, characters that require you to constantly be in action, characters that are more run and gun, characters that really are more supportive, and the rhythm's different. You won't just be pressing the same button in the same tempo, you've got a constantly new mindset for everything that you're attempting to do, sometimes even on a singular character. Again, games being bad with first impressions, you're given a list of these characters and you're thinking, oh, I bet this big old orc guy with a hammer is gonna be really tough and one of those fangs take it. Nope. Nah, I think the meta build's actually gonna be him standing behind and shooting a bow and arrow. Yeah. That's not a joke. Now, a little bit more about the builds, because that is, to be fair, a large part of this game. And this one's a lot for you League masochists out there. League of Legends is most fun when you have a balanced game and everybody's got a chance to thrive, but the League of Legends actual characters are the most fun to play when you are absolutely fed. You are winning and you are actually able to see and use the full effectiveness of your kit and item. We've all been in those situations where we've built correctly against the opposition, but it doesn't matter. We've all built a Guardian Angel and then died while 5 of the enemy team members are just kind of dancing around our corpse waiting for us to get rezzed and kill us again. Path of Exile recognizes that being able to craft a character and have all of your build options be useful is the most fun part of RPGs. A lot of times you'll take something in D&D and you'll be like, oh, I'll use this speed at some point, and then after a year of playing, you've maybe used that special skill, that special ability like once in one session. Each item, each skill you decide to take adds something effective to your character in Path of Exile. While some of it's slight things like, oh, I want slightly higher mana, or I want slightly more of this. Some of it's something as drastic as, oh, okay, this skill chains to enemies now. Oh, this lightning bolt now freezes people instead of shocks them. There's a lot of kooky, crazy, unique items that have little mechanics that, again, make just the creation of a character feel so fresh. You got some wacky build things you can actually do. A lot of people laugh about, being able to do kooky builds in League of Legends, like, oh, let's go AP this character even though they don't use ability power, ha ha ha. But that's more of a meme in those cases, right? I'm not saying you can't do well, but usually it's just better if you play it the default way. Path of Exile is not like that. But it does keep the cool combos that you can kind of string together. Almost every build takes a movement ability that's the equivalent of Flash. It's pretty neato. There's some folks that play these top-down RPGs to aim train, actually, for MOBAs, because it's a lot of mouse movement, a lot of button pressing, aiming overhead, stuff like that. And it's all contained within this deceptively welcoming and likable experience, with a surprising amount of character, actually. There's Einhar, who's got his funny, goofy voice, and he's like, okay, beasties, I get you now, haha. There's these two who answer you at the same time, or only one or the other will answer you, and they're kind of like, haha, we're snuggling the whole time. They're cute. Oh, there's this lady who's one of my favorites, who always calls you not a cockroach. Sister Cassia sings a little song when she doesn't think anyone's around, and then you show up and she's like, oh, want to play Bloons Tower Defense 3? I think one of my main critiques of the game is that most of the audio is kind of just ambience or background noises, but then some areas, and every once in a while, it hits you with this and it's like, like, I don't remember being this floored by this kind of video game RPG music since launching, you know, classic WoW. Like, this is logging on to Stormwind tier kind of stuff right here. Path of Exile is a game with a bunch of pretty flashing lights, a lot of clutter on the screen, which is kind of a acquired taste, I guess you could say. There's some things that kind of bug me, like sometimes you insta-die one hit and you're not really sure why. One of the random bonus encounters you get isn't really that entertaining. The game can feel a little grindy, but most of all the early game is just why? Remember getting into League of Legends, trying to learn that game, and it's just an awful experience. I usually tell people I've played League for about 3 or 4 years. In actuality, I've played that game about 6 to 7 years. The thing is, I stopped playing League of Legends because it sucks to learn, it sucks to get into. Now that I've got a basic handle on it, it's pretty enjoyable. It's fun to play. Path of Exile introduces you to this kind of slow-paced, take down this mob, okay, move to the next one, get to the next part. Eventually there will be a boss with actual mechanics other than just half-asleep hack and slashing. And then somewhere around Act 3, you're like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. But why does it have to take until Act 3? This is perhaps my greatest plight to you all. Please get to that point in Path of Exile where you're like, oh.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Because once you get to that point, once you're at that point in the game where you've got a solid set of items that you've strung together, you've got a nice combo that clears waves of monsters, you've got a mindset for how to take down a certain boss or just any boss, you've got something that fits your ideal play style, you imagined a character concept falling asleep and then brought it to life in its entirety the next day. It's that moment in Path of Exile, that point you get to, where you see this unique thing you've created. You've got your music in the background, and you're just kind of sitting back in your chair, pretty lights on the screen, moving through in complete control of an experience created and tailored around you by you. That's why I made this video, so that you can get to that point, because believe me, when you do, not a whole lot in gaming right now can compare to that. $50 points to whoever